from the wolf pack that he created. And we're on part 7. We've done 6 other parts, and you need to go see those. That way you can start kind of at the beginning and really understand and enjoy so much more of it that way. But anyway, this is part 7 of the boxing end of his life. Um, and so we're going into detail on that. So part 6, we went through how the boxing kind of started with doing in the lot next to the funeral home, going to a building over at the school, and then going to the building that his grandfather owned the mall there, and he offered him that building for free, and he had that for 15 years.
Yes.
And then unfortunately that ended, but you'll have to go back to part 6 to find out the end of that, which was pretty traumatic. Okay, so after that building there, that your granddaddy's mall, after that ended, then where did you go from there?
To Dothan. Got Catherine to Cali.
Okay, yeah, we went to Catherine's building, which was the upstairs of a horrendous, beautiful building in downtown Dothan. That was one of the top nightclubs in Dothan, Alabama. That's a fact. I had heard so much about it before I had even gone there. Iconic, and I had been in that club after it had closed, and it was just heartbreaking. I wanted it myself. It was just a fabulous, fabulous club. But she repurposed it for a friend, a stranger actually, through another friend, word of mouth. And then he opened a really glamorous gym up there upstairs. I had been in that a few times myself. Very nicely done. So, how many years did that one last on Catherine's building there?
Couple of years.
A couple of years, okay. And she didn't charge you rent or anything. She just offered you that
Right.
as a gift. Wow.
Sure.
Now, did she get involved in any of that stuff to help you with anything, or
Of course.
was she like bringing sandwiches down for the guys or beverages, or
Sure. Catherine was very supportive.
really?
Yes.
Wow. And so, why did she do that? Is she a fan of boxing, or she just thought it was just a really neat thing to do?
Well, she's a minister, and she believed it was part of her calling to help
Really?
people. Yes.
Wow. What a neat thing. Okay, so, um, uh, why did it only last 2 years in that building?
Catherine eventually was somebody took some money.
The manager, she hired, well, I know she hired a manager that just
Yeah.
got her blind.
Yeah. Somebody took some money and she couldn't afford to keep it.
That's so beautiful. And it sat vacant for a very, very long time. It was so sad. So, and Catherine's still around today. Great lady. Really big heart. So when that ended, were you still seeking maybe another gym, or did you just kind of say, well, we'll see what happens in time?
Well, we had a lot of kids that was always calling me and so on and so forth. When I was riding through this community,
Uh-huh.
and there was this house that there was a man working on it, and behind the house was like a garage or something of the sort. It was a block building, and I said to myself, man, that would be nice for a boxing gym. And so I was riding with the guy. His name is John Davis. John Davis said, let's ask this guy about this house. And so he was actually the owner of the house. All right. And so I told him I'd like to rent the house because I like what you got back in the back. And he says, okay, fine. So I rented that house there in Dothan, and it had and I turned that garage into a boxing gym. And it was probably, I'd say, 70 or 80 feet away from the house. And so it was wonderful. It was fenced in backyard, and in the back there was this particular building. All right, well, I moved right next to a Dothan police officer. Okay, so I started training the kids there. All right. Well, the police would come by there and ask what was I doing, why are you doing it? And they made a deal of it. They went downtown and they told them that I shouldn't be allowed to do that. It's a community. It's not a business. And I told them I wasn't charging anybody. I said, what's the difference between
Like get
having a
together.
basketball goal in your yard and allowing the kids to come, or me having a box in your yard, allowing the kids to come? Or what's the difference between people that's got swimming pools in their yard and people coming there and swimming for recreation and exercise, and me having a boxing gym for people coming to swim, coming to box? So after I cleared it with the city, this, in my opinion, police officer that was right next to me continued to call them every week. The police would come there and ask what we're doing. It'd be different police officers. What you doing? Why you doing it? So it was really harassment. That's what it was. I remember once I saw him out trying to do something. He was having problems, struggling with this table, and I went and I told him, I said, let me help you with this. And so I helped him to his garage in the back of his yard, and inside of his garage was a big rebel flag.
Oh
Yeah.
no!
Yeah,
Now
yeah.
some people that are black find that offensive. I have a friend of mine in Huntsville, and it was a real big thing with the Tommy Hilfiger or something. They had the shirts with the rebel flags, and I had some, and he said, "Oh, I just love that." And this guy was a black guy that worked at the Charlie's truck stop out by Huntsville. I said, "You don't love that?" And, no, I just love that. I love the flag, and I'm like, I don't know. So what does that mean to you, that flag?
Well, what the flag represents, as far as I'm concerned, is treason. Anytime you try to succeed from the United States, that's a form of treason, bottom line. And also, they use that flag when they lynch people. That would be the flag they wave and so on and so forth. Ku Klux Klan carries that flag around. And so, no, that's not a good image in my mind at all.
I went to a club in my business in kind of my early days of working in the Dothan area, and it was a club out, which still exists there, but it's different owners and stuff. It was way, way, way back. Matter of fact, Farrah's mother ran it. I guess was a waitress and ran it, and then her husband was like the door guy, and he ran it too. And it was called Oasis, Wicksburg. And I went in there and I ran costumes in the front of this club. They had like a game room in the front of the club and a big wall, and then people paid to go in. Behind the wall was a big nightclub. And so they always had me set up in the front end of this club, like on a pool table. And one of the girls had come up to me and she said, I want you to make me a two-piece outfit with the rebel flag. Mm. And she says, I'll pay you whatever money you want. She laid $100 bill down on the pool table, and I said, I'm not doing it.
Sure.
And she said, but why? And three other old boys the same way said, yeah, I'd be tipping you if you wore that outfit. And I told her, I said, I'm not doing it. You'll have to find someone else. And she said, why? I said, there's certain fabrics that I will not work, and I don't do any, like trademarked things unless I have written permission, which I've got from Crown Royal and then Dallas Cowboys, but and a few cartoon characters. But you have to pay to get that or get written permission of some way somehow. But as far as that, to me, it's just sad, and I just didn't want to do that. So that was my choice, and maybe I lost $100, but I did what I felt out of my heart. So it bothered me. I didn't know much history about all that. I didn't know any of this till you told me that. So I feel better now or even better now because I turned that girl down. And some things in life are not the money. It's the thought that counts, and it has to be in your heart. So you got to really follow your heart in life, or you'll never be happy. So okay, so this officer had a rebel flag in his garage when you went to go help him.
Yeah. All right.
And he didn't say anything like, oops, sorry, or...
No.
Oh, dear. So, do you think he just kind of led you into that?
No. I don't think he intended for me to say. He might have didn't even realize it meant anything to me at all. I don't know. I don't know where his head was. But living next to him, that gave me an idea. I decided that because you know, when we would compete, sometimes we would compete, and the hardest, the most difficult teams for us to compete against were police athletic league teams. All right, and so when I would see these police athletic league teams, everybody be in uniform, even the coach, and they, you know, they was well kept, and they everybody's so happy. So I decided that I would do a police athletic league. So what I did, I went out to the IRS and I asked them. I told them I wanted to do a nonprofit organization. They said, what are you gonna name it? And I said, I want to name it the Dothan Police Athletic League. She says, check, hold on 1 minute, let me make sure that name's not taken. And she says, okay, you got the name. So I started the Dothan Police Athletic League.
Okay, I'm going to stop you right there and go back to this and see if you recall this. There was several years ago, the early 2000s, I guess it was, and you and I went to lunch at, I think it wasn't Cracker Barrel, it was other place over there on the circle by 84, I think. And we had, it's a southern place, I forget the name of it. And we had lunch there, and I said, why can't you get government grants or funding and then do something with like the kids that are getting ready to go to jail, and then get them into a program that's paid by all these grants, and it will help support the rent for the gym and the utilities and everything, and the kids travel to compete and stuff. And why can't you do that? Because I remember the conversation, you were like, how would I do that? And I said, you'll have to see what there would be available that they would be able to fund you to do that. So I'll leave that there and then let you go on with that and see where that played in.
I was already familiar with the Police Athletic League in 1989.
Okay.
And I knew what they done. But however, I was asking you, I was just testing you to see just how much you knew of what you was going to tell me. But I already had it in my mind at that point that this is what I was going to do if they allow me to get the name. And it's important, if I got the name, the Dothan Police Athletic League, then
they would back you and not go against you.
To get the whole city, you would think. Absolutely. And so police athletic leagues, what they do, they bring cops and kids together for a better community. That's the idea. So in order to be a member of the national PAL, or the National Police Athletic League, then what you have to do, you have to have a police officer. At that particular time, you had to have a police officer, a sheriff, or a state trooper to be willing to donate 1 hour a day to the program.
Really?
And, yes. And so what I did, I went out to the police chief, and I told him, I think it's Chief White at the time.
Now this is in Dothan.
In Dothan.
Okay.
And he said, no problem. So he signed off on everything, but what he didn't do was ever send a police officer down. All right. So I was okay with that. I mean, unfortunately, it made it sad to say, but I was okay with that just as long as I had the program going. I was a little disappointed, but it didn't bother me. For whatever reason, he didn't send the police down there. He just didn't. And even after that, a new police chief came, and every year you have to go and have somebody to sign off. And that next police chief, he signed off, but we didn't get any support from the police at all. All right, so this went on for a while, and then I got tired of this guy next door calling the police, coming to my house. I got tired of that. And Steve Baxter, this fellow named Steve Baxter, we had done Tough Man events together, and he had saw how well our team could, members of our team compete or fare in these Tough Man events. And he asked me, I'm talking about some 15 years earlier, would I teach his folks how to fight? And I told him, I said, well, you're doing a wonderful job, because he really was teaching them with karate. He said, no, but I want to learn how to show enough fight, for real. And I said, okay, well, I'll be glad to teach him what I know. And so I talked with Steve, and Steve says, come on, and he hired me to teach karate guys how to box at his karate gym. Then his karate gym was Premier Martial Arts.
So he had a gym at the time. He was starting with you.
Yes,
being your friend.
dojo. It's called Premier Martial Arts.
I see. In Dothan, Alabama?
Yes.
Okay.
And so once we started that, Steve came to me, and this made me feel so good. Still makes me feel good. And he asked me, he said, Coach, do you mind if I name this gym Wolfpack? And I said, I'd be honored. I'd be honored. Sure, no problem. And that's what he did. So he's got right now today Wolfpack MMA and karate. And so I worked with him for quite a while.
Now that I know the one location used to be by the Jewelers on the Circle, Ross Clark Circle in Dothan, Alabama, that they had there, and you had a boxing ring in the back of that.
Yes.
And then
yes.
they had relocated to the old Big Lots or something over there
That
on the other side of the street.
Yeah, they were at Big Lots first.
Circle.
They were at Big Lots first, and then they moved next to the jeweler.
Is that how it went? I was thinking it was the other way around.
But now let me say this. When I was in Ozark, we produced one national champion. We produced several state and regional and district champions. But we produced one, the whole time in Ozark, one national champion.
And that was people that you trained at your gym?
Yes, that was Byron Mitchell. Now, when I moved to Dothan, I stay in Dothan, we produced 12 national champions. Of course, Dothan is a lot bigger place, and we had a lot more students to train.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So now, is he still located there?
Yes, he's still in Dothan.
I think it was by Ted's Jewelers or something like that.
Now he's on the Westgate Parkway, right next to Winn-Dixie.
Oh yeah, okay. The other side of town. That's a nice area.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's really nice. Okay, over by that old nightclub over there.
Sure.
I'm trying to think of that name of that place. Where is that place we went to go play chess one night? That
Hooligans.
Is it Hooligans? Is that
Yes.
still there?
Yes.
It used to be a neat place, and then it kind of changed. I went up there a couple times after that, and you had to be a member and all that, and it was kind of and so I just never went back there.
Yeah.
But they used to do chess stuff up there, and JD is like really into chess, serious chess player. Anyway, so okay, so did you you moved your boxing thing over to the new location at Westgate Parkway in Dothan?
No, I never did. COVID, where they still do boxing and MMA, mostly MMA and judo for the most part, and then of course the karate for the kids.
Okay.
But I never did go back after COVID hit. I didn't want to be around a lot of children, you see. And,
Okay.
So I never ever went back, and I'm kind of retired since then.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're still doing boxing over there or no?
Yes, they have some boxers that they train.
Okay.
And they're doing a wonderful job. His son, Jake Baxter, he's absolutely a brilliant young man. And he knows all kinds of things: judo, karate, jiu-jitsu, boxing.
Now that Steve Baxley is the older gentleman?
Yes, that's the dad.
And okay, and that guy with the dark hair is his son. I know him. I met him.
Right, that's Jake.
Okay.
Jake Baxter.
I see. He's a nice guy. He's just as
Brilliant.
nice as his daddy.
Yes, he is.
Good people. Good people.
And the granddad is nice. The mom is a wonderful family.
Really? Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to ask you about let's go. I want to skip over a bunch of stuff and then we'll go back. How is it that you are a Hall of Fame boxing coach?
No, I thought
Is
you
that
would say,
true?
I thought you would say that for the men. But anyway, I'm a two-time Hall of Fame boxing coach.
Okay.
In 1995, I was inducted into TAG. TAG is an acronym that stands for Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia Boxing Hall of Fame. And from 1989, like I said, when I first started,
Right.
we win maybe half our bouts the entire year. Then after that, 90% of our bouts from 1990 to 1995, we won 90%, and that's kind of unheard of. And we're competing away from Ozark,
Right.
the majority of the time.
Okay.
And so they thought that that was quite exceptional. Evidently, the Hall of Fame did, TAG did, and so they inducted me into their Hall of Fame. But now, you think about it, it's not really all that great a task considering. See, I studied boxing 8 years before I actually trained the first kid. So you looking back in retrospect, that was 14 years before I was inducted into the Hall of Fame. But most people think it was just 5, 6 years. But no, I had. If you go to school for 8 years after you finish high school, you're a doctor, you're an MD. You
Right.
see. So if they had such a degree in boxing, then I guess I would be the doctor. So you can call me the doctor.
There you go. So you did all this without any formal education or anything, and what would you say?
In boxing, I had no education in boxing outside of getting my butt whooped from time to time, learning, sparring with the boxers. That was it. But then I studied. Like I said, I studied the game for 8 years. I'd have my wife to record. If I wasn't home and a fight was coming on, I'd have my wife to record every fight for 8 years. And I watched a lot of footage. You hear me? And even after all of that, when I first started training kids, I still had so much to learn, and I'm still learning.
Okay.
Always something new to learn.
So today, if what would be your greatest advice if somebody stepped up to the plate and said, "Gee, I'd sure like to be a boxing coach. I wonder how I could do that." What would you say?
Okay. Now, I asked this question to another Hall of Famer. His name is Woody Denning. He's dead and gone now. But I asked him if you could give me some advice. A young guy just started training boxing. What would be the best advice you could give me? He said, be prepared for a roller coaster ride. He says it's going to be up and down. He says that it's going to be times when you think you'll sure win, your guy can't win, and he's going to lose. It's going to be times when you're thinking that your guy don't have a prayer in hell, and he'll turn around and pull it out.
Wow.
And he says, just be prepared for a roller coaster ride.
Exactly.
But now that's what he told me, but nobody's asked me that.
Now, how early were you into the boxing industry there? At that point, when that gentleman gave you that advice, were you a year in, or 6 months, or before it, or
maybe
a year?
Maybe 6 months, maybe.
6 months in.
Yes.
Yes. Into a hobby.
Right.
Wow, that is just amazing. So, do you still believe in that today? If some guy walked up to you and said, "Gee, coach, I'd really like to be a coach. What should I do? Give me some advice." What would you say?
What I would say is be consistent. You have to be consistent and make your word your bond. That's important to people. That's important to the fighter. That's important to the fighter's family. That's important to the fighter's wives. That's important to the promoters. That's important to the referees. It's important to the judges. Make your word your bond. If you say it, make it happen.
Okay. So now you said you did that twice in the Hall of Fame?
Yes, I'm 2-time Hall of Fame.
Okay, so
yes.
You did it. TAG was the first one.
First one, and then the Alabama Boxing Hall of Fame. I was inducted in 2020 or 2019.
No.
Like yeah, not too long ago.
Oh my! And the first one was when? In the 90s?
In 1995, and I was inducted in a place called Tullahoma, Tennessee. And then at Tullahoma High School.
Tullahoma.
That's how you pronounce it?
Tullahoma? It's out by the...
Tullahoma.
Yes, it is out by the Cabbage Patch place that they started.
Okay.
where they make the Cabbage Patch dolls.
Okay. And
Yeah,
I
they
know
have the
that. I
Cabbage
know
Patch
this.
Hospital and all that.
I,
There's a
I,
little tiny town. It's absolutely
uh,
fabulous.
and
It's old timey place. Very
okay.
nice.
And I can remember this. There's a whiskey distillery over there.
That's
near,
correct.
Jack Daniels.
That's
I think.
correct.
And you could smell it when you're riding past.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah.
got a big sign in the billboard there and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah, and it's
Mhm.
just a tiny little place, but it's
Right.
really neat. There's a
Right.
place up there where I like to buy fabric over there, in bulk.
Right.
Neat place, super super neat place. My friends, Joey Vaughn's parents, who were like another set of parents to me, Garland Vaughn and I'll think of his wife's name here in a minute. And I called them mom and pop all the time. And great people. They had a beautiful home out there. And that area is just beautiful. It's
Yeah.
enchanting when you first pull in. It's just so neat. And it's very, very old place. Very, very old place. It kind of reminds me of Cherry Street down in Helena or Main Street down there in Dothan, down there in the heart of Dothan. It's very old timey. So the first Hall of Fame was how many years into your boxing?
Okay, I started boxing in '89. I was inducted in that Hall of Fame in '95.
Wow.
6 years, right?
That's fast, I think.
Yeah, most people thought that was pretty quick.
My.
You see, but our team, like I said, those fellas done really well, really quick, and you know that's kind of unheard of. I think
Well,
we
they're
like
good coach.
set records that still
Yes.
haven't been broke. I didn't, you know, at that particular time, I didn't think I was out, and still it's kind of hard for me to think that
Believe.
anything. Yeah, hard for me to believe that anything special about me as far as coaching. The left hook is the left hook, right hand's the right hand. But I say this.
Okay.
The consistency is maybe what gave me somewhat of an edge. You know what I mean? I mean, I was really consistent. And I would drive, and maybe children fight a little harder for people to do this because I put out a lot for the kids. In Ozark, when I first started, I would drive the north side of town and pick up kids and drop them off at the gym, tell them don't hit anybody, don't hurt anybody. I'd go to the east side, west side, south side.
And this is kids that didn't
kids.
have cars or
That's
families
right.
didn't have
I
cars.
made it very convenient.
Wow.
For
And you did all that for free.
Didn't charge a penny, not for gas, not a penny
Wow.
for hotel room expense, anything. I
Gee
did that
whiz.
out of
Okay,
proceeds
so-
of Trawick Funeral Home community.
From the funeral home.
Yeah.
Benefits from funeral home. Because
Absolutely.
we're giving back
That's
to the
right.
community.
That's right.
Okay, so the first induction was 6 years into your hobby.
Yes.
Oh,
That's exactly what it was.
and then how many years in to your hobby was the second induction that was most recent?
Okay, 2020, right? So we're talking about from '89 to 2020, 31 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
just incredible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
now what did
the
they
Alabama Hall of Fame? It's only been in existence like 4 years.
So how did you
Five
know
now.
on the first Hall of Fame, the tag one, the Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia one, how did you even know about that? Did they send you a letter or did some guy
Yeah.
say, hey, I want to nominate you? Or
Yeah,
how
a
does
lady
that go?
named Mrs. Patsy Kennedy. She called me and she told me. She said, Johnny. She asked me a question. How would you like to be in the Hall of Fame? I said, Hall of Fame. Sure, I like to be in the Hall of Fame.
Did you
She
really
says,
believe
okay.
her?
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I believed her.
Is that right?
But now this is kind of interesting. It's a little bit different from the last Hall of Fame in that I wasn't the only coach nominated at that particular time in the Hall of Fame. There was some other coaches along with me. Whereas the Alabama Boxing Hall of Fame, they just one coach a year or one promoter or
Oh,
whatever.
wow.
Yeah, so it's a little bit more exclusive.
I see.
Yes.
Okay, so and if you guys see it, which I wish I could post it, but we're live, there is a picture on the internet. If you look up JD, you find him all over the internet, and it shows I believe it was the last induction. It's most recent. And it's funny because you'll see this picture and you'll see a bunch of guys there. I think it's like 7 guys in a row. And everybody's just dressed in like, we're sitting around the house drinking beer clothes. And JD's up there and he's got a full suit on and everything. And because he expected to be accepting an award, a presentation. It was kind of funny how those other guys were dressed. I found that a bit odd because that's a once in a lifetime event.
Yes.
You know, and
Yes.
you'd want to be dressed for that.
But I
So,
think one of the differences is that because all of the previous Hall of Fames that the Alabama had, uh, everybody was, most people was suit and tie. All right. But this one, I think they pretty much said, you know, just relax because they really didn't encourage you to bring or invite anybody to it because of COVID. And so it was more of a formality than really the previous ones had been.
wow. So it wasn't a big, humongous event with 1 million people in
No,
auditorium or anything.
we were encouraged not to bring, not to invite people because of COVID.
I still would have dressed though.
I did.
That's an honor. That's a huge
I did. Why
honor.
they didn't, I don't know.
Okay, so now on the second one, how did you know about that one? Did they just send you a letter, or did they call you and said, you know, we're gonna nominate you, or you have been nominated, and we need you to appear to accept your
JD's trainer of Deontay Wilder and manager. He called and he told me, Johnny, there's 170 or something like that people that's up for this particular position, and you made the first cut, and then you made the second cut, and then you made the third cut, and you are
it.
Yeah, you're the man.
Oh, wow. So what did you think about this second time around that they put you in there again? How did you feel about that? Did you even believe it?
Yes.
Or did you go, I did this twice in my life?
Right. Well, I appreciate the fact that it was so exclusive. This second Alabama Hall of Fame, that's really exclusive. You know what I mean? There's only three other people in that received the award in my category. All right, so I appreciated that. And the Alabama Boxing Hall of Fame, they had I lost my thought. But anyway, I appreciate it. Oh, and the fact that there's, you know, when one group of people say, okay, this guy's good. Okay, that's one thing, and that could have been an accident, or that could have been politics. But when you get two separate groups saying that, hey, this guy's it, that kind of seals it. You know what I mean? Right. That kind of means you was doing something right. You know, that's what that means. And so, yeah. But the first time, I thought maybe it's just because I got a bunch of great athletes. You know, I just had good guys.
You didn't put it on yourself.
Matter of fact, I got
put it on the great guys.
There's some of my fighters will tell you right quick
Jeez.
that Jd Trawick wouldn't be, and they're not wrong in saying this. Jd Trawick wouldn't be a Hall of Famer if we didn't fight and fight well. And they're right. I wouldn't be. All right. And so I was thinking, okay, I was believing, okay, it's just a fighter. But then when another Hall of Fame tells you, all right, you know something special about you, I gotta appreciate it. And I gotta think maybe I had a little something to do with it. You know, maybe I had a little something to do with it. But yes, if the fighters didn't do their part, I wouldn't be in the Hall of nothing.
If you had it to do over again, would you have done the boxing again?
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
So you're a firm believer in it, and you just following your heart. Sure. In this whole deal. That's neat. Okay, yeah. So have you ever traveled, had a travel need for other cities or states or countries in the world for this type of thing, for the boxing industry? I've traveled pretty much all over the United States, with exception of maybe 2 or 3 countries. I've traveled in 16 countries outside of the United States with boxing. And in those 16 countries, I go back to these countries probably 4 or 5 times. Because once we go there one time, then let's say, for instance, we go to Yash, Romania. All right. We compete in Yash, Romania. People see us. All right. Next thing you know, we're competing in Kristanța, Romania, or Ploiești, Romania. And then we'll go to Bulgaria. We're in Varna, Bulgaria. And then next thing we're in Sofia, Bulgaria. And the next thing we're in some other part of Bulgaria. So okay, so let me ask you this: when you're saying we go to this, we go to that, are you talking about guys that you have actually trained to be boxers, and you went with your boxer and competed in another country? Yes. Wow. And some of the guys. But how do they afford that?
The promoters pay for them. We're talking about professional athletes now. At this point.
Wow.
Yes.
So how many pros have you trained?
Well, I never thought about it. Probably 20, maybe 20, maybe 20.
Is that a lot? Is that
Three
a little?
world champions, pardon me.
Is that a lot
20.
or a little?
I don't know how many other coaches train. I don't know. I don't know.
Wow. Okay. Did you become friends with any other coaches? Are there friends that you still have today that are coaches?
Yes.
Any funny stories about other coaches, or did you cross, horns with other coaches at any given time and became friends with them later, or just was buddies with them right up front? Tell me some cool coaches that you know. And
Rod Jones Sr. is the first one coming to mind, and he's the man I learned the most from. Rod Jones Jr.'s daddy. Yes, he is a genius, you ask me. He's a genius.
now, is he still around?
Rod Jones, yes, he's down in not too far from here in Pensacola, Florida.
Is that right?
And the first time I saw Rod Jones in 1988, I saw Rod Jones in the Olympics. He got ripped off. He won a silver medal, but then he turned around and got best boxer. Okay. Well, I saw his dad in the crowd, and see, that's one thing I don't like about amateur boxing. The coach that taught the fighter how to fight. USA Boxing got it set up where they're gonna have a coach for the boxing team instead of
what?
Yeah. And so I don't think we can ever produce our best effort when we take the original coach away from the
Absolutely, because that's the person you're looking back at in the crowd or whatever.
Exactly.
And you need that.
Exactly. He needs to be in that corner.
Oh my gosh.
But Roy was Big Roy, Roy Sr. He was in the stands, and I saw him in the stands. And anyway, I called him after I started in '89 with my boxing team. And I said, Mr. Jones, I don't remember how I got his number. I think then you could just look up in the phone book or something. I don't know how I got his number. I called information and asked for Roy Jones, Pensacola, Florida, and he answered the phone.
Wow.
Roy Jones. And I figured probably a lot of Roy Jones, but anyway, he answered the phone. And I told him my name is Jd Trawick, and I've got some boxers. And do you have boxers, Mr. Jones? I said, I know your son is great and everything. And he says, yeah. He says, I got a team of boxers. I said, well, I'd like to bring my boxers down and spar with your boxers. Is that possible? He said, I'd love for you to come down. And I tell you what you're going to do. When you come down, we're going to get a heap of shrimp. I'm going to send the fellas out to the ocean there and the Gulf of Mexico. And we're going to get some shrimp. We're going to get some fireballs. And we're going to put it in a big pot. And we're going to boil it. And we're going to eat after we get through. This is what he told me.
Wow.
Well, my fighters, some of them was having problems at school and stuff like that. And so from the time I called him, I didn't call him back for 4 months later before I could get my fighters out of trouble and so on and so forth, some of them. And so when I called him back 4 months after the first call, I said, hello, Mr. Jones. This is, he said, I know who you are, Jd Trawick. And I was surprised that he remembered my name. Trawick. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
I was really surprised because Trawick is not a name that some people remember. But now I'll tell you why here in a minute. All right, so I said, I told him I'd like to bring my boss down. He said, yeah, I thought you'd have been here already. I said, yeah, but my fighters got in trouble and boom, 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 and I didn't want to come down. So I took 22 kids down there. Now this is the genius this man is. I took 22 kids down there.
Jeez.
And they all got a chance to box with Roy's kids. Roy told me, after watching Byron Mitchell for 3 minutes, he said, Trawick, I'm going to tell you something. And after watching all the kids, he said, Trawick, I'm going to tell you something. You got one guy that's going to be champion of the world. He said, but you got to put some feet on it. He said, that boy right over there, that boy that's going to be your champion. And now this 22 kids he watched fight 3 and 4 rounds.
Wow.
And out of 22 kids, he told me.
He saw one.
All right, yeah. He said he's going to be champion. He said, what weight is he fighting? I said, he's fighting 178. All right. He said, well, he won't be champion at 178, but you get him down to 160, 65, somewhere like that, he'll be champion. I said, why do you say that? I said, he eats, he trains, and he's at 178, and he's winning. He said, yeah, but he's not a true 178, Trawick. He said, you get him down to your true weight. And so I was hard-headed. For 4 years after that, I kept him at 78. But when it came to making the Olympic team, you had to win one of the 5 major tournaments. You had to win. You had to win the first place. You can't be runner-up or nothing. You had to win one of these 5 tournaments to go to what's called the Olympic trials. Well, Byron, he get that to the semifinals and lose, get to the finals and lose, and the last tournament was the Golden Gloves tournament, the Nationals. Wow. And I told Byron, I said, drop your weight. I want you to drop your weight to 65. He dropped 65 and he won that tournament.
You're kidding.
Roy Sr. told me after looking at that boy for 3 minutes, you drop him to 68, he'll be champion.
Oh my God.
And eventually Byron became champion of the world.
Now, did you call Roy back and go, you know what? I just got to tell you, you were right. Or did he run across you and go, see, I told you, man.
No, we never discussed that since.
Okay, so Roy, if you're seeing this, I would love to do a vlog with you and JD. And comment down below or contact JD and let's get this together. Love to hear from you. This is a beautiful story.
Right. All right, now watch this. Another friend of mine is still around right here in Fort Walton Beach is Dennis Walker. Now, I'll tell you the thing that's wonderful about Dennis Walker. Most coaches that we compete against, like I said, now we won 90% of our bouts. But Dennis Walker is a coach that I can say that I never beaten our fighters, never beaten his fighters any more than his fighters beaten ours. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dennis Walker, right here, one of the best coaches in the world.
Right. Well, it was funny because the last trip that JD was here in Florida, we were in Florida currently, right now at the present moment, doing this vlog for you guys, and I had said, he said, well, I'm thinking of coaching again. And I said, well, there's this gym that just opened by my old house with the pool over by Uptown Station. And I said, it's a big thing. I started seeing guys running down the street and stuff, look like boxers running up and down the street. And so we went over there. It was nightfall. And I said, here, go over here. And we pulled up and what was really funny is he looked at the front of the building and he says, Walker, he said, that's Dennis Walker. He says, I know him. I said, huh? And I said, yeah, this place like just opened, whatever. And I said, no. I said, you really know this guy? And he's like, sure, I know him. And I said, well, there's a phone number on there. I bet you that's like his house number. I would call it, as it's not too late. It's not after 9 or anything. And I said, I would call it just because you're in town. And he said, well, okay, I guess I'll do that. And so he keyed it into the phone, and we're sitting in the car right in the dark in front of this guy's gym. And as soon as the guy answers the phone, he says, like, Jd Trawick. And it was so comical. These two characters, I would have loved to have that on a vlog. It was just too much fun. I mean, you know how most conversations with people on their phones is so boring. This was so entertaining. It was a moment that was gold. And so I'm going to let him carry on with that, because when I said to Dennis, I said, look, I said, I was telling him about this gym that just opened. He said, I've been here for a long time. He said, but we were closed for the pandemic. Right. And then had to reopen. So that's why I never noticed that gym was there. There was a karate place next door and a washing repair and a gun place or something in this little tiny strip mall that's real old. I bet the guy was actually closed and reopened, and I was under the impression it was a brand new gym. So I'm going to let you take it from there.
Well, I actually love Fort Walton Beach area. I love it, and I'm retired. I can live anywhere in the world I choose to live for the most part. And so I was really kind of considering this area and maybe coming out of retirement and opening up a gym of some sort. But I knew Dennis Walker was here. And so I won't get nowhere close to Dennis. Do it. You hear me?
And Dennis, if you're on here, I really would love to do a vlog with you and JJ. It would be just too good.
That's right.
So just contact JD or comment down below, and
Yeah.
I would love to do that. It would just be too much fun.
Now there.
You guys are funny together. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Now.
So, all right. So, uh, I'll let you take it from
Yeah.
there.
Okay, now there's another coach, the one that coaches Deontay Wilder. I tell you something that's amazing about JD's. The first time I met him, he's out of Tuscaloosa, Alabama. JD's iron up to spar with some of his fighters. JD started gloving up himself. I said, what, you gonna spar with Byron? He said, yeah. So I go to Byron. I said, Byron, now this is a coach. Now this is not a kid. Now don't you hurt him. You know, that's what I tell Byron. So they get out there and start boxing. JD's are giving Byron the business. I said, Lord, Byron, you better tighten up, because this man here has got he's a left-handed fighter. And I remember he caught Byron. Byron is used to a person when they throw a left hook to, right hook to the body. Usually throw hook body shot, and then you throw a head, because when you throw the body shot, the hands tend to come down and the head is open. So he threw a body shot to Byron's head. And Byron assumed that he was going to throw a headshot. So Byron raised his arm and he doubled up with the body shot.
No.
Yeah, Byron said, yeah. I said, look at this coach, Byron, you need to tighten up now. Yeah. But JD
now, how old are these guys at that time?
Byron.
40s, 30s, 50s?
Byron at that particular time, Byron was probably 21. This before Byron Pitcher became champion of the world. He was probably about 20. No. He was probably maybe 20. Maybe 20. And JD's, I think Jay's younger than I am.
Now, Byron is the guy that you trained.
Yes.
And he's champion of the world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
My gosh, how many champions of the world have you trained?
3.
And who are those guys?
Byron Mitchell, Byron Mitchell from Ozark, Alabama. Originally, Byron was born in Orlando, Florida. So he was about 9 years old, and he moved up with his dad when he was in Brandis. And his dad got a job in Ozark, and he moved down. He was probably 13, something like that. But when he came to me, he was 15 years old. So,
wow.
So he's from Ozark, Alabama, as far as boxing career started from Ozark.
Okay.
And Virgil Caticota from Cape Town, South Africa. Virgil Caticota is a mixed kid. He looks like a white boy with a tan. Very nice. He's a minister now, and now he's living over in. I won 5 fights with Virgil Caticota around the world, and then there's Henry Akawande. He's originally from Lagos, Nigeria.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, the 3 names of the top.
Byron Mitchell, Virgil Caticota, and Henry Akawande.
And they're world champions.
They were world champions. Yes.
That you trained.
Yes.
Gee whiz.
Now Byron, out of those, Byron is the only one I started from the beginning all the way through. The other 2 eventually was sent. They chose me, or somebody chose me for them.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, how many of the fighters that you worked with at any given point in time, whether beginning, middle, or end, went to the Olympics? Any?
Henry, I'm not sure. I think maybe Henry one day. I think maybe Henry did. I'm not sure. Okay. I know he had a very successful amateur career.
Okay.
But he was fighting out of Britain at the time.
I see.
England.
Okay. Now, so you traveled all around the world basically with the boxing thing, and then still kept the funeral business, and I think our good friend, I guess he was probably running most of that for you. He just passed away. I love the world out of that guy. What was his name? Tyrone.
No.
Was Tyrone never running the funeral home business for you and all that when you were gone?
Well, he's gonna look after.
He was like family, kind of keep an eyeball out.
He's gonna do that. Yeah.
Tyrone's pretty cool.
You don't have to worry.
This guy was one of the neatest people in the world. I don't think that guy ever met a stranger. And unfortunately his health got bad and he passed away, and it's hard because it's just like yesterday. Great guy though. Okay, so you traveled all around the world and the boxing thing, and still kept the funeral business, and your parents have since passed on, and granddaddy and everybody had gone, and so now you're handling all the funeral stuff, and you continue to go through this boxing stuff uh, still. When you traveled, um, you were literally taking your boxers that you trained and took them to compete in other countries and states. That's what you did.
Yes.
So, how did you get about in, and they call it a bout when it's a fight. How did you get a bout in another country?
A promoter would call me and ask for my fight. Or a
Really?
promoter call me and say, hey, we got this fight for so and so and so and so. Or a promoter may have 5 or 6 fighters. And he'd call and say, Johnny, you can go. One time I had an opportunity to go to Dubai or Uzbekistan. I chose Uzbekistan. But Dubai wasn't that popular then. It was just kind of being built. You know, and I kind of regret that one. But I really enjoyed myself in Uzbekistan. So.
Okay, so the promoters, how did you hook up with them? Did they just contact you, or do you have your name on a list with all these different promoters so they can call you? Is it sort of like the acting business where
well
you
once
get up with a
once Byron Mitchell turned before Byron Mitchell turned pro, he fought against the French Olympic team. All right, I was USA Boxing called me, the headquarters in Colorado Springs, and they said, we have the French Olympic boxing team staying in Auburn, Alabama. They came early to get acclimated for the 1996 Olympics. And so they called me and asked me if I could put together a team to fight against the French Olympic team. And so I guess the reason is because I had most of the fighters, you see. All right, so I put the team together, a little all-star team, and Byron was up in school at Northern Michigan University. So anyway, I brought Byron down. Now, our fighters was as talented as the French fighters, but what the French fighters had, they were better conditioned than we were. So we start out, we win the first round, but those next 2 rounds, we suck and win. Those French fighters is just, they pouring it on us. All right, so in Byron, I know he has a tendency to start fast and then he'd fade. I didn't know at the time, but he had asthma. So, the longer fight go, the more he tends to go down far as throwing punches. He don't throw as many punches. All right, well, with Byron, what I did was I told Byron, I said, all right, so see the French team, they were so used to us starting fast and then they're coming on. Start fast and they're coming on. So I told Byron, first round, go out and give it all you got. Now, what this guy is going to think, we're going to make him think you're going to fade. I said, now, Byron, this is what I want you to do. The second round, I want you to take the second round off. He's going to assume that your energy level is gone, like all our other fighters. And then the third round, I want you to knock him out. And that's exactly what Byron did. So when I was getting out of the ring after Byron's knockout, this French guy came up to me. He says, are you his manager? I said, no, I'm not his manager. He says, well, I wish to speak to his manager. Where's his manager? I say, he doesn't have a manager. He says, you lie. I said, I'm not lying, mister. He doesn't have a manager. I said, I'm his trainer. This is all he got. He said, I give you $3,000, $3,000 for this kid. I said, no, you won't give me $3,000 for the kid. I said, I tell you what, he's in school right now, up in Marquette, Michigan, and Northern Michigan, Upper Peninsula. I said, but now what you do, you send him a little piece of money. He appreciate it where he can buy him a hamburger right now. The school pays for his books and it pays for his board, his room and board. But he can't take a girl out to buy a hamburger at McDonald's. I said, just send him the money. Now, if you send him $3,000 all at one time, yeah, because he's not used to that kind of money. I said, just break it down in portions. And I guarantee you, when he gets ready to turn pro, we're going to give him first dibs. And you've already invested in him. Now I'm going to root for you, but I can't make his decision for him. And so when he turned pro with John Christophe Courage as the manager. Right? Yes. And John Courage, he had fighters around the world. And so John would send us, first trip out of the United States for me was to France. And that was a wonderful experience.
Wow.
And yeah.
Okay, so we have got Inspirational Nomad from Tampa, Florida on here right now.
Oh, okay.
And he is another YouTuber and friend of mine. And He's a very, very interesting person. And if you're still on here, hello to you and from Upper Florida. And if you have a question, go ahead and throw it up there. Um, and we're talking boxing here. We are with the two-time Hall of Famer, Jd Trawick, and his stories are incredible, and they're all true. Okay, so um, now let's. Okay, so you have traveled, and the promoters paid everything, your flights, everything to ship you guys wherever you had to appear.
Everything.
Your hotel, everything.
Everything.
What about the food?
Everything.
You're kidding me.
Everything.
Wow.
and I tell you this too. You get a knock at the door and it might be 30. No, I'm exaggerating now, but it might be 5 or 6 beautiful women there at your door.
Oh
Not
no.
Not that you deal with it, but it's there.
Really?
Yeah, promoters make sure that you
That everybody's covered.
Yeah, appreciate you.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Oh my. Okay, so how do you take these kids away from their families? Are they mostly still with their families, or are they already out of the house? And
Well, these are pros now.
do you have to go to their parents and go, so there's this
no.
fight in Belgium or something?
No, these are pros. These are grown. Most of these are grown men. They're professionals.
Okay.
At this point, yes.
Okay, so what is the youngest for the pros, do you think, in age?
Now, I'm not sure anymore, but back in Mexico, I've known them to turn kid pro at 14.
Holy heck.
But in the United States, that's impossible. Here, I think it's 18 with parental parents signing.
And that's a requirement of the federation or something?
A person 19 years old. You got, in the United States, you have different boxing commissions for every state.
I see.
All states, it's about two states, I think, don't have boxing commission. But they'll use a boxing commission around them. But most states got boxing commissions. And the boxing commissions, 19 is the age where a person can sign without parental consent.
Okay, so the other boxing coach people that you know, that you were good friends with, or you associated with, or had dealings with, we got Dennis Walker, who is still alive and operating in the Fort Walton Beach area. He has a gym called Walker's Gym. It's near Uptown Station in Eglin Parkway in Fort Walton. Just almost walking distance from the Brooks Bridge. And then we have, actually it's right across the street from Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We also have Steve Baxley, the Baxley people, which they are still operating, and they were located in Dothan, Alabama. Actually, it's Dothan, Alabama, over at Westgate Parkway. It's the other side, over by the big shopping malls and the big Walmart. They have 2 Walmarts there, but they have a giant one on the one side. It's more close to that. And by that Cocktail Lounge Hooligans, whatever it is, on the corner. That's kind of a known spot there. And then, so who else is still alive that coaches that you personally dealt with and know?
T.C. Collins, he's out of Montgomery, Alabama. And, boy, I'm in joke. All right, T.C. Collins. There, I hate to name some because I'm going to miss some. And there's one fella, he no longer trains boxers, but Frank Hardy. He and I used to have some wonderful wars together. Yeah.
That's funny.
There's some more. There's some more, but those are the ones that come to mind right off. T.C. Collins, there's fellas out of Birmingham. Dave Garber. Dave Garber's an excellent coach out of Birmingham, Alabama. Steve Whitt out of Knoxville, Tennessee comes to mind. And yes.
And these are people still operating today, you think?
Yes, they still in the business.
Whiz.
Frank Hardy's not. He's artist and he's doing well with his business.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
Can you excuse me for a minute?
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and close this one out.
Appreciate it.
And we'll be back. Thank you so much for coming by. And you have a great day and do something kind for a stranger, and we'll see you in a minute.
Thank you.